The conversation begins with a discussion about sugar and whether it is inherently problematic or if the issue lies more in the quantities consumed. The guest, Dr. Tommy Wood, explains that it's likely both the quantity and the context of sugar consumption matter. He notes that fructose, which makes up half of table sugar, has come under scrutiny recently for its potential effects on uric acid levels and cellular energy. When metabolized, fructose can be quite intensive on liver cells, potentially depleting their energy stores. Wood emphasizes that the real issue is not sugar itself, but the context in which we currently consume it. He advocates for a diet primarily composed of minimally processed, nutrient-dense foods. Sugar provides only energy without other nutrients, so consuming a large proportion of calories from sugar means missing out on more nutritious options. This applies to ultra-processed foods in general, which tend to be nutrient-poor but calorie-dense. The conversation touches on the definition of ultra-processed foods, highly refined products with added fillers and additives to increase shelf life. Wood notes that some sugar in an otherwise healthy diet is likely not detrimental, but problems arise when it becomes a major source of calories at the expense of more nutritious options. He cautions against focusing solely on sugar, as people could simply replace it with other processed foods. Instead, he advocates considering the overall dietary pattern and nutrient balance. The discussion moves to blood sugar spikes and continuous glucose monitors, CGMs. Wood explains that most carbohydrates get converted to glucose and will temporarily increase blood sugar. While having better blood sugar control is generally associated with better health outcomes, especially for those with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, the guest cautions against pathologizing normal blood sugar fluctuations in healthy individuals. He notes the difficulty in predicting individual blood sugar responses to foods, as there can be significant variability even within the same person eating the same meal on different days. Factors like sleep, time of day, genetics, and recent exercise all influence blood sugar responses. Wood expresses some skepticism about the widespread use of CGMs, noting they can become stressful for some people. However, he acknowledges their potential benefits for adherence to dietary interventions in some populations. The conversation touches on the idea of N of 1 experimentation, using science as a starting point, but ultimately testing things out on oneself. The guest suggests that rather than hyper-focusing on blood sugar data, people may benefit more from generally shifting towards a less processed diet with more vegetables and protein. The discussion shifts to cognitive function and brain health as we age. Wood explains that while cognitive function does tend to decline with age on average, this decline is not inevitable. He notes that we can make new brain cells in some areas and form new connections throughout life when we challenge our brains with novel tasks. The guest outlines three main ways cognitive decline can be induced in animal models. 1. Decreasing supply of nutrients, oxygen to the brain. 2. Chronic toxic exposures. And 3. Lack of cognitive stimulation. In humans, these might correspond to poor diet, cardiovascular health, environmental pollutants, and lack of mental social engagement. Sleep and stress management are also important factors. The conversation emphasizes that cognitive decline likely starts much earlier than diagnosis, potentially in one's 30s or 40s. The guest notes the similarity between brain and muscle tissue. Both respond to the demands placed on them. Just as muscles atrophy without use, the brain may decline without adequate stimulation. Wood discusses the importance of continually challenging the brain with novel tasks to maintain cognitive function. He cites research showing amateur musicians had greater cognitive benefits than professionals, likely because the learning process was more challenging for them. The conversation touches on the idea that it's not about mastery, but rather the process of learning and failing at new skills that benefits the brain. The guest suggests aiming for about 20 to 30 minutes of focused learning on a new skill, as this seems to be the period people can maintain intense focus before needing a break. He notes that while crosswords and Sudoku may help a little, they likely don't provide the same level of challenge as learning a new language, instrument, or physical skill like martial arts. The discussion emphasizes finding activities that are both challenging and enjoyable. as this increases the likelihood of long-term adherence. Wood notes that different activities may work better for different people, but the key is consistently engaging in novel, mentally stimulating tasks. The conversation shifts to discussing optimal protein intake for muscle health and longevity. The guest expresses skepticism about some of the research on low-protein diets, particularly animal studies, which may not translate well to humans. He notes that humans evolutionarily consumed more protein than many modern diets provide. Wood suggests that most people, especially as they age, likely undereat protein. He recommends aiming for about 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, spread across 3 to 4 meals with 20 to 40 grams of protein each. He notes that adequate protein intake can help with satiety and potentially reduce overconsumption of other foods. He addresses concerns about high protein intake and kidney health, explaining that for people with normal kidney function, there's no evidence of harm from higher protein intakes. He emphasizes that the benefits of adequate protein likely outweigh any potential risks for most people. Regarding exercise, Wood emphasizes that any increase in physical activity from one's current level is likely beneficial. He notes that achieving about 150 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous physical activity is associated with significant improvements in cognitive function. This can be broken up in various ways: brisk walking, resistance training, sprinting, or even gardening. The guest explains the concept of intensity times time. More intense activities require less time to achieve similar benefits as longer durations of less intense activities. He cautions against getting too caught up in specific exercise protocols, suggesting that consistency and gradually increasing overall activity levels are most important for the general population. The conversation touches on the importance of sleep for brain health. The guest notes that both sleep quantity and quality are important for long-term cognitive health. He suggests aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, while acknowledging that most people probably sleep better than they think they do. Wood discusses research showing that sleep deprivation can decrease empathy and increase negative interpretations of social interactions. He emphasizes that while one night of poor sleep is not a major concern, chronic sleep issues can compound over time and negatively impact various aspects of health and social functioning. The discussion concludes by exploring the importance of social connection for brain health. Wood explains that humans are inherently social creatures, and having a sense of belonging and purpose within a group is fundamental to our well-being. He discusses the grandmother hypothesis, the idea that there are evolutionary advantages to remaining healthy and cognitively sharp into older age to support one's family and community. The guest emphasizes that social connection provides a sense of meaning and purpose, which appears to have physiological effects on the body, including the immune system. He suggests that without social connection, it's difficult to maintain a sense of purpose, which may trigger decline in both physical and cognitive health. Overall, the conversation highlights the interconnected nature of various lifestyle factors in supporting brain health and cognitive function throughout life. Dr. Tommy Wood emphasizes the importance of a holistic approach, considering nutrition, physical activity, sleep, stress management, cognitive stimulation, and social connection as key components of maintaining brain health as we age.